where to start.
So thank you for coming out. It is a great honor for me to, as the 125th Worshipful Master of the Norman Masonic Lodge, to be able to sit at the head of the table with so many distinguished people here with us this evening. I have to admit, this is my first festive board, and as the Master tonight, it's going to be specific and yet loose. I'm going to ask here in a little bit that some of those that are here tonight have a little bit more experience with the Festive Board to help us kind of be more specific in what it is that we're going to do tonight. But one thing's for sure is we're going to have fun. We're going to celebrate 125 years of Masonry in Norman, and more specifically, I am incredibly honored to have Worshipful Brother Jim Tresner here to have a short talk about the monomyth and the hero's journey in Masonry, which is a educational segment that we began at the beginning of the year, and we followed through to what is essentially coming up to the end of my year as Worshipful Master. So thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to stand up in front of everybody and do this. It has been the custom among Freemasons, ancient and free and accepted Masons, at an appropriate time in the activities of the lodge, to adjourn to a banquet room and there open a table lodge for the purpose of celebrating brotherhood and the virtues of Freemasonry. Tonight, we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the Norman Masonic Lodge. Brothers Senior and Junior Warden, please to satisfy yourselves that all participating in the columns of the North and the South are Masons.
Worship Master, all in the column of the North are Masons.
Worshipful Master, all of the column of the South are Masons.
Brother Wardens, please invite our brethren to the columns of the North and South to assist us in opening our table lodge.
Brethren in the North, assist us in opening this table lodge.
Brethren in the South, assist us in opening this table lodge.
Brother Senior Warden, are you a Mason?
All my brethren know me as such.
Why have we here met together?
To erect temples to virtue and dig dungeons to for vices.
How are the temples erected?
By the blessing of God.
To whom are they dedicated?
To the holy saints John, our brothers John the Baptist and John the Evangelist.
How long must we work?
From midday to midnight.
What is the hour?
Almost midday or high 12, Worshipful Master.
Brother Senior and Junior Warden, in consideration of the hour, inform our brethren on the columns of the North and the South that this table lodge is now open, and we are about to begin our labor in the usual manner.
Brethren, the column of the North, this table lodge is now open, and we are about to begin our labor in the usual manner.
Brethren, on the column of the South, this table lodge is now open, and we are about to begin our labor in the usual manner.
Brethren, in this solemn hour, I charge each of you to rededicate yourself as a Freemason to the noble and glorious purpose of bringing light to dispel darkness, to the service of Him in whom we put our trust, to the precepts set forth in that great light of Masonry, the rule and guide of our faith. I charge you to keep your apron an emblem of innocence, unspotted before the world, to practice that most excellent gift of charity, to make constant and proper use of the square of virtue and level of equality and the plumb of rectitude. Craftsmen in the quarries, I summon you to greater loyalty to your lodge and your fraternity, to integrity in all of your dealing with your fellow man, to study, to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that need not be ashamed. Guard against vain invocations, my brethren. Preserve the landmarks, maintain the reputation of our fraternity, Aid and assist the needy. Remember your brother's welfare. Be circumspect, always in speech. Assist and support him who is failing. Whisper good counsel in his ear of him who needs encouragement. Let each of us make use of the trowel to spread the cement of brotherly love and affection. Let us labor with the common gavel that these rough ashlars may become perfect ashlars. And finally, my brethren, remember how once you stood at the northeast corner a just and upright mason. I strictly charge you to forever act and walk as such. Brethren, please remain standing as our chaplain delivers the invitation.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're truly blessed this evening to come together in fellowship in your name. Please be with us through our proceedings this evening. Bless the food we're about to receive to strengthen and nourish our bodies. These things we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
So would it be. Now, brethren, join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, to our first toast. Brethren, we will now begin the work of the evening with our first toast. Charge and align your cannons. Brothers Senior and Junior Warden, you will see that all cannons and columns of the north and south are properly charged and aligned for the fire.
All cannons on the column of the north are properly charged and aligned for fire.
All cannons on the column of the south are properly charged and aligned for fire.
And they are charged and aligned in the east. Brethren, join me in toasting the United States of America with worshipful brother Travis Roberts.
Brethren, I give you the United States of America. We are truly blessed to live in this beautiful land of opportunity and liberty. May we offer our fervent wishes for its continued prosperity, innovation, leadership, and sovereignty. And as these wishes are so very dear to each of us, I invite you to deliver your fire as handsomely as possible. With me, my brethren, to the United States of America.
To the United States of America.
Fire. Good fire. Sharpest of fire. Return arms.
Point left.
Vivat! 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 That was outstanding. That was outstanding. At ease, brethren, please be seated. To ancient craft masonry.
Brethren, I give you the ancient and gentle craft of Freemasonry, from which we obtain both brotherhood and friendship. Brotherhood is that mystic tie which unites us under the fatherhood of God. And remember that there are good ships and there are wood ships, and ships that sail the sea. But the best ships are friendships, and may they always be. With me, my brethren, to the ancient craft of masonry.
To the ancient craft of masonry.
Fire! Good fire. Sharpest of fire. Turn arms. Vivat! 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 We will now continue the work of the evening with our third toast. Charge and align your cannons. Brothers Senior and Junior Warden, you will see that all cannons of the column of the north and south are properly charged and aligned for fire.
All cannons on the column of the north are properly charged and aligned for fire.
All cannons on the column of the south are properly charged and aligned for fire.
And they are properly charged and aligned in the east. Worshipful Master Daniel, Worshipful Master. I said Master.
What coach do we
I said
have we?
Worshipful Brother Hantula. Please join me in toasting to Norman Lodge number 38.
Our lodge in 1890 was chartered. To the holy saints John are we martyred. Oh, you presidents and founders have knocked at our door, opera singers, inventors, and judges and more. All seeking to find the light that we bring, they covet to wear our mysterious ring. But first they must learn to inculcate all that is taught at Norman Lodge 38. As we celebrate our 125th year, all men are merry and all of good cheer. 2 members from our rolls or grandmasters past, most worshipful prevalent angst, were for the votes cast. There's no single doubt when we consecrate how pure the foundation of the men of Norman Lodge 38. Though our building has gone from 2 stories to 1, the light from within is far from done. In fact, we are home of Lodges 3. Ours, traditional observance, and Prince Hall masonry. Our history is grand. There's nothing more to delineate except to raise our glasses to Norman Lodge 38. With me, my brethren, to Norman Lodge 38.
To Norman Lodge number 38. Fire. Good fire. Sharpest of fire. Turn arms. 3 times 3, brethren.
Vivat! Vivat! Vivat!
25th anniversary. So, again, I give you Dr. Tresner.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I really appreciate the invitation to come here this evening. You know, I was listening to the toast that you gave to Norman Lodge. I know the opera singer to whom you referred. He was lad the name of Joe Benton. And he and my father were at OU at the same time. And they knew each other, they were friends. Benton had a remarkable voice, tenor, and could not get even a hearing at any of the opera companies. And so his coach said, vocal coach said, the problem is nobody believes that there can be such a thing as an American tenor. You need to change your name. And so Joe Benton became Giuseppe Bentinelli. And within a year and a half was singing at the Met. True story. It tells you something about packaging, if nothing else. I'm going to talk to you tonight about one of the oldest battles in all of human history. It's been visualized many ways, but it is often visualized as the battle between line and circle. These are the 2 opposites that are represented in Blue Lodge by the sun, moon, and the master of the lodge, which is the one in whom they are in balance. The 3 lesser lights. This is the battle between line and circle. This same thing is represented in the photograph degree by the columns Jachin and Boaz, not by the fact that there are 2 of them, but by the fact that they are either bronze or brass. We don't know which because the Hebrew word for the original not having vowels, we just don't know. It's one of the 2. But whether it's bronze or brass, it is the combination of a sun metal, copper, and a moon metal, either tin or zinc. When we say the sun, moon, and the master of the lodge, We're talking about Apollonian consciousness and Dionysian consciousness, line and circle. Apollonian consciousness, which is typified by line, named after the god Apollo. And these were awarenesses that the Greeks had. I mean, this is. It is sometimes typified as male, just as circle is sometimes typified as female, but it is enormously important not to think of those in our terms of male and female. As we'll see, they're very, very, very different things. The Apollonian consciousness, the male consciousness, if you wish, sees everything linearly, and everything is either black or white. It is aggressive, it is dominant, it is judgmental, it is completely incapable of nurturing and completely incapable of creating life. But it is the male, the drive, the line, straightforward without deviation. The circle is represented not by a goddess, but by another god, the god Dionysus. Dionysus in Greek mythology is the god of life, and he is often shown wearing female clothing. He is the feminine, but we're talking about the feminine tiger. When we're talking about the feminine in the sense that we use it here, we're talking about the raw force of life itself, the pure driving energy that will send the roots into the solid rock and break the rock apart. And Dionysus is often pictured riding on a leopard, and the leopard is the life force, the driving energy. This is what we mean by feminine in masonry. It ain't soft, pink, and fuzzy. And it is typified by the moon. Why the difference? Well, think moon and you think cycle. The moon is the symbol of immortality because it dies and is reborn every cycle. The snake becomes a symbol of immortality for the same reason. It casts off its skin and is reborn. And these are old awarenesses. As you look at Campbell's work, this ties into it. This very much ties into it because the essence of the hero's journey is the circle, not the line. The essence of the hero's journey is the circle. It is the going forth and the return, and the going forth and the return, and the going forth and the return. And the return is every bit as important as the going forth, because it is what provides the energy and the strength for the next going forth. They are indispensably linked. Now, if you look at what Campbell says about it, remember he's talking about the Arthurian legend in one of the lectures, and he talks about the fact that the knights all go by a different route into the forest because it was regarded as a shame to take the straight and easy way. It was unworthy of knighthood to take the straight and easy way. Blind, but it is rejected by cycle. It is only through cycle that we learn. Only the fact that we come again into situations again that we've been in once, does learning have any value? Think about it. If every experience were unrelated to anything which had gone before, what value is there in experience? What value is there in learning? Well, it is because of cycle. Now, does it repeat the same way? Of course not. Nothing ever repeats exactly. But it does repeat. This issue of line and circle was really very brilliantly written about earlier this century by a man named Peter Viereck. If you're unfamiliar with his work, let me recommend it to you. Viereck was primarily a writer of political philosophy. And one of his best books is A Shame and Glory of the Intellectuals, one of my great favorites, and I'll be quoting that a bit later. But he wrote a poem, writes 3 books of poetry, wins 3 Pulitzer Prizes, tells you something about how good the man was. And his command of English was just marvelous. Just makes you, gives you chills. He wrote a play poem called The Tree Witch. The Tree Witch is a dryad. And the antagonist in the show is a character called Weed, done by 3 people, the same name, and they are modern man. And it is the battle between, well, as the line says, up, 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 rushes male, will, steel. And the dryad who says, the reaching out of warmth is never done. In the month of March, the snails climb tender trees to be nearer the Pleiades. And then there are these other characters, the Furies, who keep trying to make sure that the male and we and the dryad never get together, because they know where the power is, and the power is in the dryad. Again, play called The Tree Witch, song called The Tree Witch. Worth reading, but what I'm really talking about is the fact that this is an understanding which you find in ancient Greece, which you find as Campbell traces the hero's journey all the way through. And now we find it reiterated again in the 50s, when Viereck was doing most of his writing. This is more than just cycle. You remember in the 18th degree, in the Scottish Rite, there is a place where the character is talking about the nature of man and whether or not there's any part of man that's immortal. And he says, this is the most important question there is, because it is the question of whether man is in fact worth something, or if he is of no more consequence than an ant. Well, that's the issue. Is there something in us that is worth more than an insect? Is there something in what makes us up which survives everything, which links us in some way to the past, to all of human experience, to everything any man or woman has ever thought or said or written or drawn on paper or sculpted in stone or played in music or anything? Is there a connection which is the essential human center? Or are we leaves blown in the wind, useful only for burning at the end of life? It's a significant issue, at least to me. And what the hero's journey says is, yes, that connection exists. Yes, there is something in you which is transcendent of your daily experience. And the whole purpose of the hero's quest becomes this transcendence. How do you leave what you are and become more? How does the butterfly emerge from the chrysalis? What steps have to go through? Now, I'll be the first to tell you, to my great sorrow, that it doesn't take with everybody. Not everybody makes the hero's journey. And so don't ever assume that that's a universal experience. It isn't. Remember, most people take the right-hand path because it's comfortable. It's the path of Dharma. It is the path of society telling you what to do, and you doing what society tells you, and being therefore minimally uncomfortable. But the hero has always been the left-hand path. Now, let me make very clear, because I got caught on this the other day. I was talking about this at a reunion, and someone called the SGIG and said, Tresner's recommending witchcraft and devil worship. What? He's talking about the left-hand path, I see. Well, it is perfectly true that some Satanists currently are talking about what they do as the left-hand path, I found out. This is not, however, anything that I am particularly interested in. Almost every culture has the story that discovery comes from the left hand. To learn something new, you follow the path no one takes. And that traditionally has been described as the left-hand path. Take the right hand, it's known territory. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be happy, live respected, all that sort of thing. You're not going to discover anything. You're not going to bring anything new into the world, but not everybody has to. The right-hand path is thoroughly known. But the left-hand path is what takes you into danger. Our North American brethren refer to it as the North Path, because the North Path is the path of darkness, danger, the unknown. In one of the great creation myths of the Iroquois, the two sons are going to go look for their father. The father is the son of this guy. And the mother says, well, you can go, just do not go north. So, of course, they immediately go north and have a whole series of experiences. They come back and they have found the weapons. They get the weapons from their father in the sky because there are monsters troubling the place. They need to do away with the monsters. And because they go to the north, they find them. If they had gone to the south or any other direction, they would not have. This is, of course, metaphoric language. It's mythological language. It's talking about exploring the part of you that most people don't look at. Because, as you know, the entire concept of the hero's journey does not take place out there someplace. It takes place inside you. The marvelous line in The Tree Witch by Björk I mentioned, where the dryad is talking to we, and she says, to find me, excavate yourself, not Troy, not Greece. In your own skull, 9 egos deep, lies Troy. That's the basic message of the hero's journey. You have to go in. You have to look at what is inside without fear. It's very difficult to do. And you have to say, okay, what do I want to be? What do I want to turn into? What do I want to become? If I'm going to engage in self-transcendence and transformation, into what am I going to transform? That's the essence of the question. And that's a thing you can only work out for yourself. And I can tell you from a selfish viewpoint, It's all kinds of fun to watch people work through this. I get a big kick out of it personally. Because people start learning things about themselves they didn't know. And what you frequently get is this look of astonishment on the face. Hey, I can do that. I can solve that problem. I can change that behavior, whatever it is. Because they're going to say, yes, and nobody else can. Only you can affect your own behavior. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to actually watch the hero's journey come around again. But there is, as Vierick says in another place, there is a glory in this. And I want to read to you a passage from Shame and Glory of the Intellectuals. One of my favorite passages in all literature. And then we're going to open this up for any questions, any fights or arguments anybody wants to have, okay? Here's what he says. He said, man clings, and clings innately, to some shreds of glory. Like a good sport in a bad comic strip, man grins tearfully through the mess of custard pies with which fate bombards and undignifies his forehead. So doing, he yet clings, and clings inherently, to some bewildered and inalienable glory. It matters to cling to glory's shreds. The remnant saveth. The shreds of ideality redeem reality. They are tattered, they are pathetic, they are, we learn, semantically meaningless, but they are not an illusion. And they are not entirely a gyp, or a fraud, or an operational tool, or a rationalization of self-interest, or an accidental byproduct of sex or economics, or a glandular reaction. They exist. These shreds of glory matter. Self-transcendence is part of self. And self, in turn, is part of self-transcendence. Self is the cruel practical joke, the old tin can tied to the tail of transcendence by the neighborhood brats and rattling out a distinctly tinny laugh at our sublimest moments. When, after a few million years, our planet dies of cold or fire, when the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and proteins that strutted about as life sink back into their primordial slime, then the last flicker of consciousness will sigh as they ooze sulkily back into the ocean. Anyhow, for a while it was good to have been men. This, for a while, is the deep sadness of the human condition, the condition of armorless consciousness. But this, anyhow, is the cry of gladness, whose prelude is not pleasure, but tragedy. It is the tragedy of being born neither a stone nor a star, but a human being, mortal, aspiring, earthbound, a glory, a muddy and vulnerable glory. Questions, arguments, fistfights. Between any two of you, huh?
Beginning with a round of applause. That was amazing.
Appreciate that.
So it always seems like the journey ends at the apex, where you've fought through the battle to fight off whatever the demon is, to slough off the bad behavior. Can you talk more about the return part of the journey and why that's such a, as you said in the beginning, that it's just as important as the leaving out?
Because it is the return that keeps all this from being selfish. You see, up to the point of the return, everything has been your own self-development, your own increased understanding, your own ability to do things, your own awareness of your own spiritual strength and power. But if that stops there, then it is essentially selfish. It is you get to sit back and feel good about it and think, what a good boy am I. But that's sterile. It is when you bring back into the world what you have learned, and it modifies your own behavior in a way that is beneficial to other people, or you decide to do things that are beneficial to other people. In some way it finds expression in the world. That's when it ceases being selfish. That's when it ceases, when it becomes noble, when it becomes worthwhile. We don't always see that part of it. But if you look at the lives of people who have had the experiences, you can see it there. Ford has a vision of what can be. It stops there. He's had an interesting experience. But he brings that back into the world and creates the assembly line of the automobile factory. Now this confers many, many benefits upon many, many people. He pays the highest wage anybody is at the time. I mean, it's... I'm ashamed to admit I cannot remember right now the name of the scientist, but he was trying to solve a problem in chemistry. He was drowsing in front of his fireplace, had been trying to explore his own inner thinking. And suddenly he sees people dancing in a circle. And he wakes up and says, that's it! And that's how he discovers the benzene chain, which is an essential part of chemistry. A really important part of this whole thing is that you don't know how much you know. You do not know how smart you are, or how dumb. You have no clue as to you. Now, that's not personal, that's true of every human being. Until we go on the exploration, which is expressed by the idea of the human journey, we haven't a clue who we are. And yet, we're told in every culture I know of. You know, I thought the Greeks were the first ones to write "Know Thyself" outside their temples of initiation, but they weren't. The Egyptians did. And it may have been in Mesopotamia. You have this whole tradition of you need to know who you are. And the actual translation of the one at Eleusis, which appears to be pretty well standard, actually isn't just know thyself. It is, if you would know the universe and the gods, know yourself. Which is somewhat a more dramatic statement. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the atonement with the mother portion? I mean, the atonement with the father's fairly easy to see in Freemasonry because of King Solomon, the worshipful master and whatnot. But the atonement with the mother, because there's not a specific female figure within the lodge.
I want to say this carefully. I doubt if to the early Masons that was significant. Not saying it shouldn't have been, but I'm not sure it was. I do think the idea of the integration was that we had to come to grips with the masculine and the feminine. You can argue whether or not the feminine can be equated with the mother. With the maternal, yes, but not with the mother. I don't know. Remember, the Greeks used Dionysus for that, not Ceres. I mean, they had mother goddess figures they could have used, but they didn't. They used Dionysus. And when you have the mother goddess, you have almost all the three faces, the maiden, the matron, and the crone. So they are time-linked in a way that the male expression of the deities are not normal. Now that said, Persephone is, of course, the major redeemer figure in the Greek mythology. And this is made possible by her mother Demeter. So. Well, being honest about it, I don't know. I mean, I guess and speculate. But I think we live in a difficult time for this, because this whole idea of feminism has come up and is springing up everywhere. And it's a very destructive idea, I might add, in my own judgment. And it is destructive because it leads women to think of themselves as victims. And that is the first step to being defeated, is to think of yourself as a victim. There's a marvelous play called The Rape of the Belt, in which Hercules is going after the belt of the Amazon queen. And Zeus and Hera, two statues, like live-speaking statues, are watching the whole action. And Hera is complaining that Zeus does not pay enough attention to women. And Zeus says a line I just love, but I can't quote very many places. He says, "My dear, a feminist is a woman who makes the mistake of assuming that the battle of the sexes has been lost. Pray curb your defeatism. It could end in your defeat." I take great but quiet comfort in that line. I think we approach it through the lesser lights, through the symbolism of the two pillars, and in the other ways that we express it in masonry. I don't know of another way we approach it. You got to remember, women do not need initiation. That's a major, significant difference. They may have it, but they don't need it. And the reason for that is that nature unmistakably tells a girl when she is a woman. Grammatically, powerfully, you can't miss it kind of message. There is no equivalent that tells a boy when he's a man. And this is why in every culture we have any record of at all, there have been initiation periods and rituals and testing which provided the thing which told the boy, I'm now a man. We've lost them in the United States completely. Some of you have heard me talk about this before, but what we have left, the idea of one of those modal points is you can do something after you couldn't do before. so that now that you're a man, you can do these things you couldn't do when you were a kid. Well, where are we? At 16, you can get a driver's license. You can do something after that you couldn't do before. At 21, you can vote and get drunk legally. So you could do something after that you couldn't do before. That's about it. In our society today, that's about it. Now, in earlier times, there were athletic teams. And the initiation rituals there, when somebody got a letter or something, were pretty bloody. But they served that function. Now we've got the military. And yeah, that's a major defining event in somebody's life. But that's about, again, all. And now we are even mixing males and females in the military to the point that this is no longer a male-only experience. And the initiation has to be a male-only experience. Why, I can't tell you, but sociologists will tell you that that's true. And it's true in every culture and every society in which we have any record at all. Way back to the painted caves, literally. Literally. Initiation is a male phenomenon. The magic is different. The woman's magic is sometimes referred to as the magic of the cauldron, because that's where she brings forth life. This is not a put down, this is not a negative thing, but the functions are different. So I've rambled on more than long enough on that topic. Anybody have anything else they want me to confuse them on? I probably don't know, but I like convincing them.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Part of my studies have, and obviously King Solomon plays a big part in our ritual and all of that. And I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on when King Solomon writes, "All is vanity, there's nothing new under the sun." Where do you think in the hero's journey he is at that moment? At that moment of despair? Do you think he's in the trials? Do you think he's wrapping back around to begin a new journey? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Top of the head, okay. Solomon is only, we don't know much about his journey. Most of what we know about Solomon, he is fulfilling a different role. He's fulfilling a role in other people's journey. And it is to some degree the role of Merlin. It's the wise advisor, the old man who has the knowledge and is sharing. Scandal. Where he is in his own journey, I don't know that I have any way of guessing at it. Except that we can be sure it's not his first round. Other than that, I just don't know. Happy to try. Anything else anybody wants to venture? Well, let me tell you again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I appreciate many, many of the things Corbin Lodge is doing. There is a whole change, a sea change, taking place in Freemasonry. Started to mention this sometime earlier. I spent most of my life trying to convince Masonic leadership that Masons wanted to know something about Masonry. It was received wisdom that they did not. Any Grand Lodge officer in any Grand Lodge in the United States of America would tell you the one thing you could not force a Mason to learn anything about was Masonry. You laugh. They meant it. They're dead serious. They're dead serious. That there was absolutely no point in trying to do Masonic education because nobody wanted it and nobody would sit still for them. They were largely right. There were a few of us who wanted it. We basically had to go start digging for ourselves. There were some books available, actually many books, except you couldn't get a hold of them. But then, with your generation, a new thing started happening, and Grand Lodges haven't caught up with it yet. I'm not sure they're going to for another 10, 15 years. We started getting people in who wanted to know what all this junk meant, who were not content with sitting there mouthing words. They actually wanted somebody to tell them what the word meant. And more than what it meant, why we were taking the trouble to say it. And they wanted to know what the backstory was. And what's, okay, here are the symbols. And I've been told these really very surface explanations about what the symbols mean. What does it really mean? What's under it? What's behind it? And oh boy, nobody knew what to do anymore. I mean, nobody. There were people asking questions. There was, as you probably found out yourself, almost in, I doubt if there were 5 lodges in Oklahoma that had anybody that could answer the questions for me. Because nobody ever asked them before. And they had standard answers. All you need to know is in the ritual. Really? And why was the ritual written that way? Well, I don't know, but all you need to know is in the ritual. Okay? Now, that's not to be poking fun at them. That's all anybody ever asked them. That was regarded as a perfectly adequate answer. And then people your age started saying, no, that's not what no. What I want to know is why? What's behind it? Why on earth do we have the sun, moon, and worshipful master serving as lights at an altar, shining on the Holy Bible square and compasses? What does that mean? Why is that there? Why do we walk around the room once in that direction in this degree and twice in that same direction in the next degree and 3 times in the next degree? Why do we do that? What's going on? Why are people asking me questions while I'm walking? Why hundreds of thousands of questions? Why are the penalties what they are? Why are there penalties at all with the obligations? Especially because we know the penalties are symbolic, the obligations are real. Why that strange combination? In case you've never dealt with that, let me just very quickly mention that if you are an alchemist and you are preparing to do the lesser work, that is to say, work on vegetable matter, and I'm stealing this stuff right straight from Tim Hogan. He told me I could. You start without using an instrument of iron. You have to dig the plant out by its roots entire, and then you put it in a vessel with water. And you put this in a box that is full of sand and has a heat under it. So it makes a sand bath, and it moderates the heat, kind of like a double boiler. And you heat it, heat it, heat it. And twice a day, you gently agitate it back and forth. That is to say, you take something and you bury it in the rough sands of the sea when the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours. That sound familiar? Well, all this stuff is out there. Nobody was writing about it. Nobody was interested in it. And then your generation came along. And the rest of us have been swimming like mad trying to catch up ever since. Because there were perfectly legitimate questions. But nobody asked them. Well, not many people. And so few people asked at any one given time that they almost never got together to share answers. This was before the internet, when it was fairly easy to share answers. So that's why often lodges are just peddling like ducks trying to catch up. Well, Norman Lodge is doing a good job with that. Doing a good job with that. I hope you're scaring some people kind of badly, because this stuff is scary when you first start doing it. Then you realize it isn't. But again, congratulations and thanks.
Since the hour is late and our labor being almost completed, please join me in the final fourth toast of the evening. Charge and align your cannons. Brothers Senior and Junior Warden, you will see that all the cannons on the columns of the north and the south are properly charged and aligned for fire.
All cannons on the column of the north are properly charged and aligned for fire.
All cannons on the column of the south are properly charged and aligned for fire.
And they are charged and aligned in the east. Brethren, join me in the traditional Tyler's toast.
Dear brethren of the mystic tie, the night is waning fast. Our duty's done, our feast is over, and the toast must be our last. Good night to all. Once more, good night. Again that farewell strain. Happy to meet. Sorry to part. Happy to meet again. To all poor, distressed masons, whatever dispersed over the face of the earth, a speedy relief to their suffering, an improvement to their lot, and humility in the rest of us. And to those who stand at the gates of death, firmness in their heart, and peace in the eternal rest. With me, my brethren. To all poor and distressed and departed brethren,
To all poor, distressed, and departed brethren, fire. Good fire. Sharpest of fire. Return arms. 1, 2, 3.
Vivat! Vivat! Vivat!
This evening. Thank you for the wonderful words that we've had imparted upon us. Be with those who could not be here with us tonight. Be with us as we go about our ways to our homes. These things we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
So did he. Brothers Senior and Junior Warden, are all brothers in order?
All in the column of the north are in order.
All in the column of the south are in order.
Brother Senior Warden, what is the hour?
Midnight or low 12, Worshipful Master.
In consideration of the hour, inform all brethren of the columns of the north and the south that this table lodge is now closed.
Brethren on the column of the north, this table lodge is now closed.
Brethren, on the column of the south, this table lodge is now closed.
Brethren, go in peace.